Hi, this is the Inspiring Revolutions presented by the ASCAP Foundation. And today we're talking with Bandits on the Run. Hi, folks.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, y'all.
I'm so excited to be talking with you and having you here. We first contacted you back, I think, in March or February, and we selected you to perform for our Kennedy Center program called the ASCAP Foundation Songwriters, the Next Generation program, mouthful. And we were all set. You were going to go on the Millennium stage in Washington, D.C. Super exciting. And then all of a sudden, you know, the pandemic lockdown happened.
This little event occurred.
Yeah.
And
just a little global pandemic happened.
yeah.
So how are you guys doing? How are you? How are you feeling? How are your families? Is everybody okay?
Yeah, we're doing great. We're actually extremely lucky because when everything shut down, we were all together. So we were on our way to South by Southwest to perform for the first time there. And we had already driven down south, and the Kennedy Center thing was part of our sort of tour we had built for ourselves on the way back to New York. So yeah, we've been together throughout all of this, which is wild. And we ended up staying at my mom's house in Hickory, North Carolina for about 2.5 or 3 months or something like that. So
Time is extremely relative. So
yes.
Yeah. And then through all the shenanigans, obviously everybody's schedules just got thrown into a garbage fire and disintegrated. And so everyone's starting new. And we ended up being in contact with this producer named Ryan Hadlock. And now we are in Woodinville, Washington, because we're recording an EP with him, which wouldn't have been possible before the pandemic. But this is where we're at right now. We're at Bear Creek Studios, his studios.
Really beautiful.
Yeah.
It happened because of South by Southwest.
Yeah.
Even though South by Southwest was canceled, they still have a roster of all of the artists. And here at Bear Creek, they do this extensive mining. Right before they go, they look through all the artists.
Every band.
And so when it was canceled, they were like, "Oh, it's so sad that it's canceled, but do you guys want to do something?" So it ended up being pretty fortuitous. And
yeah.
Thankfully, everybody in our circle has been all right. I mean, our heart is out to all the people that are really struggling right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Generally speaking, we're feeling healthy, and our loved ones are healthy and wearing masks and being cautious. And but I mean, I think it's an up and down period. I think there's certain times where we feel obviously very lucky to be here now working on music, trying to find a way forward, but also there's some times where it feels really difficult to know what is going to happen, and it feels really sad, because it's just it's horrible that so many people are sick, and the numbers are staggering and just I don't know, very scary. So I think it's also sort of wild to have a lot of bright spots. And I feel like there's not really a middle ground anymore. Either things are full of a lot of joy or full of a lot of sorrow. I don't know, at least personally.
So your home base is where? Where do you live?
We live in Brooklyn, New York, and we haven't been back there since the beginning of March. So it's really sad, but we're going to be there by the fall, which will be nice to come back home. But
yeah, it's funny. We left in March with one suitcase full of clothes, and we haven't been back since.
Yeah.
So we're like, oh my God, we wore this shirt a million times.
This is my tour outfit.
Right. Yeah.
Good to have those versatile outfits, I'm sure. Lots of online shopping, perhaps.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So how did you all meet?
So Sydney and we went to college together, and so we were best friends all through college, and then would sometimes write songs together, but really kind of for fun.
Yeah, we went to school for acting, so songwriting wasn't really our focus. But there was a week or two once every year at school called intensive arts, where we could do whatever we wanted. This was at North Carolina School of the Arts, the school we went to. And so every year we just decided to write a song. So that was sort of our like collaboration that we did just for fun. And then I moved to New York City a few years ago, and I was doing a play, and I saw Adrian busking on the subway. And that's how we met each other, which is kind of a wild story in itself.
Yeah, I guess the moral of the story is talk to strangers.
Yes.
So how did she come up to you? Was she just like, hey, can you stop playing for a second? Like, how did that go?
Did you stop playing?
No, it was the opposite.
It was pretty opposite.
I like clapped for him after a song. He was like, if you know Adrian, it's so on brand for Adrian. He was like, thanks, do you want to hear another song? And I was like, sure. And so he played another song. And I was like, cool. And we started talking a little bit, and then the train came, and I was like, oh, I got to get on this train. He was like, yeah, like, I should probably get home too. So he kind of
yeah, I was just about to go.
Ran on the train, and we like kept talking. And yeah.
But it's funny because all of us are actors. We all went to school for acting, and all of this happened like within the first couple of years of getting out of school. But the first thing that I remember talking to you about was music.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to figure out that you were an actor. And so that's kind of defined our relationship. We're a couple, and also has defined what like the way like our life together and the course of the three of us.
Yeah.
Because I had been busking so much in the first couple of years that I was in New York. I had seen some stuff that Sydney and Regina had done. You showed me some videos or something,
college, yeah.
and I was like, well, is Regina moving to New York? We should start a band. And when Regina got there, we were kind of like, okay, we're a band now.
You're like, hi, welcome to New York. Do you want to start a band?
And I was like, New York is amazing. You move here and then you're in a band.
And
Suddenly you're Bandits On The Run.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we've been on the run ever since. I mean,
Yeah.
truly.
Yeah, we have. It's really like been cool to see how it evolves. I mean, like, I've definitely become a better cellist from being in this band, and Regina has become like a multi-instrumentalist from being in this band. Like, we were just like, yeah, you can play tambourine, and then like it's funny how every year she's been like, okay, maybe this year we'll play xylophone, we'll play melodica, and now she has an accordion, and that she's like getting really good at playing. So it's cool to like. And then your evolution with the suitcase.
Oh,
drum,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
With the foot drums.
He's our guitarist and our drummer.
I'm the one-man band within the band.
Yeah.
That's true.
This first song is called She's the Queen, and we started this sort of tradition last year where we wrote each other birthday songs, and this was the birthday song for Regina, because Regina means queen, so we kind of rolled with that. But yeah, so this is kind of just, I don't know, there aren't enough songs that are that come from a friendship place, I think. There's so many love songs. Not enough friendship songs.
Completely.
Need more friendship songs. It could also be a love song though too. It could be whatever kind of song you want it to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is She's the Queen.
Let's do it.
When I get down, I go all the way down, looking out for angels underneath the ground. When I get blue, I go all the way blue. Diving
was your first experience with music that made you be like, I want to do this, or let's try this out and see what sounds I can make? Were you really young, or was it a little bit later?
That's a great question.
For me, it was my parents are not musicians, but my dad and mom both took lessons when they were adults on piano lessons. And just listening to my dad more just did stuff by figuring it out by ear. And so that inspired me when I was like 5 or 6 to just go for it and try to figure things out by ear.
Yeah. I think for me, when I was a kid, I think I was a really good mimic, which is part of why I ended up acting as well. But like there was always music in the house. And so I would as my parents were playing CDs and such, like I'd like go to my room and I'd like write a similar song and then I'd sing it for them. And I think they were always kind of like, oh, good job. So that's my first moment where I like kind of enjoyed the creation of music. But I have to say, I also kind of, I don't know if this is cheesy, but like first time that the three of us went into the subway and we were performing for strangers and people were visibly affected by it, and you could see the joy and surprise in their face. I think that was the first time for me where I really was like, oh yeah, I want to be doing this way more often. Like there's something really valuable here.
Yeah. And I think for me, honestly, I was a huge musical theater kid. Like I loved show tunes and like storytelling songs and things like that. So I was like, I was Cats. Total nerd. It was Cats. No, it wasn't technically Cats, but I did love Cats, and I dressed up as a cat from Cats when I was 8 years old. But yeah, I really think it was like doing musicals when I was little and like singing and like using your whole body to tell a musical story. I was like, this is really cool. I want to do this. And like that includes also playing instruments. And so it was all kind of just like a very natural progression for me from like that sort of seat to like, pop folk music and being in a band.
When we were staying with Sydney's mom, she told us a really great story about how Sydney like had her eyes set on the cello from the beginning, like when she was like 4 or 5. And her mom was like, well, what about the violin? It's a little bit more manageable and easier to rent. And Sydney was like, no, it's got to be the cello.
I was very set up playing the cello.
As a result, there are all these great photos of Sydney when she was like 6, this tiny little girl playing a cello that's like as big as her. It's amazing.
Yeah, but they make tiny cellos too, which is so cute.
So how did you cross from just creating music as a musician to songwriting?
I feel like this might be something that all of us have in common. Like the two have not really ever been very different. Like I think as long as I've been playing music, I've been writing and experimenting things. So I mean, I think that they're two sides of the same coins. Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's sort of a natural impulse that all three of us share. Mm-hmm. But I think that whenever like I learn like other people's music, all that it makes me want to do is like write my own. You know, like I feel like I have a hard time. I would have a hard time playing other people's things for too long before being able to be like, okay, let me do my version.
Yeah.
No, totally. I mean, I would agree with all of that. It's all we all come from a place of wanting to make things, I think. So it's a very easy progression from learning to and performing to making it our own. We're also like 3 very sort of strong personalities, so it's like, of course we want to like make our own thing with it. So
and we also
by that same token, we like when we first started, we were learning a lot about
we did songs. Mostly covers in the subway
because we started just by playing in the subways. You kind of have to have people, you have to grab people's attention with a song that they know before they'll listen to you, to a song that you wrote. And so I mean, that was really influential, I think, for the 3 of us, was just to have like 10 or 12 songs that we started out playing that we knew really, really well because we had been playing them over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And that kind of gave us the songwriting building blocks to start working as songwriters together.
And a lot of those songs were like kind of like early 60s, like very harmony heavy already sort of songs. So I feel like that has really been a good starting point for us to jump off with our songwriting, because we're still influenced by that sort of idea.
Yeah.
So.
I love the experimentation that you guys have with, you know, instruments and songwriting. It's almost like you're musical scientists. I love it. How has the pandemic, the Black Lives Matter movement, civil rights movement, how has that impacted your songwriting, your lives? Let's talk about that.
Great. Well, I think that, you know, as a band, our primary focus has been, like, our intention with our songs is to spread joy and to have to be a space where if people come to our live shows or if they listen to our songs, we want them to feel relieved and taken out of the monotony of life, which a lot of times can be very stressful. And so I think as a band, we put a lot of very kind of happiness-focused content out there, which I absolutely love. And I think, like, with the Black Lives Matter movement and the pandemic, it's like there is a lot of darkness out there, and a lot of injustice, and a lot of things that need to be spoken to as well. And I think as a band, we're sort of expanding our capability to hold many truths at once, and I think that's coming out in some of our new songs that we're developing. Also, I think we're being more active about being vocal on social media about specific issues, and we wrote a protest song for the first time, which is really exciting, because I think all of us are very we're all very progressive, and we're all activists in our own right, but it's been nice to channel that a little bit more into Bandits on the Run. But I think this period has been really huge. Also, we've been together for months, so that's also a big factor, that we get to create a lot more just because we have the time. You know?
Yeah.
And we have the time to not create things too. Like,
yeah.
We have the time to be together and just be incubating ideas without having to be directly working on music, which I don't know. I think that's a very, very lucky thing. I think a lot of people, when they get together these days, have to be very intentional about how they spend their time. And we have the gift of just being around each other all the time.
Yeah, and that's been very important, I think, to know when to take the time, because I mean, especially when the George Floyd things, like, really started happening. Like, we had all of these, like, plans and, like, things we were going to do about our live streams and blah 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 blah, and like we had the ability to just say, actually, let's not do any of that. Let's, like, process. Let's, like, take the time to, like, talk to each other, or just, like, be by ourselves, and, like, so I think that's really important to know when the right time is to just, like, take a step back and really process what's happening, because there's so much that really needs to be actually digested and taken in. So
that was such a crazy week and beyond. But I mean, it was the first time that we wrote a song and put it out into the world, like, so quickly. I think you had written the lyrics in like 2 days before we ended up putting it out there. And so it's wild, because we try to be very intentional, and we spend a lot of time on our arrangements, but to speak to something that's happening right now, and to be addressing like a current event,
like a certain moment. Yeah. Like, we don't have the luxury of time to get it perfect. And we're all very, Bandits is a very, like, sort of intentional and, like, not polished per se, but we're definitely very specific about our arrangements and stuff. And we're like, it doesn't matter this time. Let's just, like, put it out there. Yeah. It's called Reimagine the Police. It's on our YouTube.
Have you had any personal experiences that would, fuel the writing of that song as well, that you want to talk about?
We were quarantined in North Carolina, and we were in this beautiful house that was very close to a park. And, you know, every time I would go out for a walk, I would feel a little afraid, you know, and if a cop car drove by, you know, it almost feels like you have to perform innocence when you're Black. And you know, I've been very lucky that I haven't had that many direct interactions with police officers, but also I'm deeply afraid of police officers, and I'm a very law-abiding citizen, actually. Like, in the categories of like lawful good, blah blah blah. Like, everybody agrees. Like, Regina's lawful good. But yet I feel a little afraid every time I leave the house, and you know, and I think that was kind of, you know, the older that you get and the more you learn, the more you realize that your feelings aren't the problem. Systemic racism is the problem, you know, structures are the problem. And I think that, like, however we can encourage people to use their particular talents to fight injustice. You know, everybody has their own lane. Everybody has different skill sets. It's like some people are amazing activists, like out on the streets protesting. Some people don't feel comfortable because of health reasons or for whatever reason. You can donate to programs that help, and that you can, I don't know, like, and that we also need healers and storytellers, and there are so many ways that people can be involved in the revolution. And I think that the three of us, you know, it's funny because we are one group, but we also are three very different demographics.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's also been really interesting to think, like, when we're talking about things amongst ourselves, and this is something I'm looking forward to developing more in the future, like how can we speak as one voice and yet also three individual voices, and how do we react to things appropriately, you know. Yeah, I think that's a big question. It's also, like, not to tie everything with a big bow, but I do think it is sort of almost like a little microcosm of America, to be like, we all care about each other, we love each other, we're so different, the world treats all three of us very differently. Like, how can we try and have a united voice and a united sense of equity, you know, amongst the three of us, and then how can we try and model that and model conversations and stuff. You know, I think that's very important to me, at least. I think it's important to you too.
Oh, we've had so much. We're all, like, very, very, very close. We've had so many conversations about really tough things, just like blind spots that personally I can say that I've had the benefit of being able to talk with you, and also with Sydney, who is so, like, you're both so understanding and patient with me. There have been, like, songs that I think when 2016, is it okay if I talk about this?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
There's this song that I was writing after the election, in 2016, that was, it was like, America, I thought I knew you, but how you've changed. And we had a really, really interesting conversation around that song. And it was like, the conversation went on for, like, months.
Yeah.
Because I kept being like, this is my truth. And, you know, that's how I feel as a white, straight man in America, like, suddenly awakening to the fact that there's so much racism. But that's not like, it's not like there was no racism and then there's racism. Yeah. It's like, that's been pervasive. I just had a very different experience of it. But kind of by this is a really incredible event of, like, writing this song, or trying to write this song, realizing that, like, at the heart of it, there was, it didn't feel like something that you could sing to you. And so, like, so that inspired that conversation.
The truth.
Like,
the actual truth.
Yeah.
What's the song about?
This song is about, it was born out of the quarantine, and it's come to mean kind of really diving into the moment, whether the moment that you're experiencing right now is a good or a bad moment or a hard moment. It's about really being there and getting all that you can from the moment. and it's called Now Is the Time. And I'm just gonna tune, because now is the time for tuning.
Now's the time for tuning.
Gonna dive into this tuning. Okay. Not to some old deity or to a future to be, but for the music that is passing right before us. You would break and you would miss it before you even notice it, it's gone. But if you take up the song, you'll hear it echoing on and on. Now is the time for magic. Now is the time for listening. And all our heartbeats quickening for anything you can think, anything that you believe in. Now is the moment shimmering. And all our eyes are listening. And you and I can listen into all that happens now. Leave all of your laws, your caveats and clauses behind. See what a silence may find. Taking some air before you wear your thin excuses. You scare them out of losers. You try to find the reason, lost in the season of now. And be the what, not the how. Don't give your thrill away out. Now is the time for magic. Now is the time for listening. And all our heartbeats quickening for anything you can think, anything that you believe in. Now is the moment shimmering. And all our eyes are glistening. And you and I can listen into all that happens. Choose to sing or not to sing. Don't fear being free. Choose to sing or not to sing. Don't fear you're here. Now is the time for magic. Now is the time for listening. And all our heartbeats quickening for anything you can think, anything that you believe in. Now is the moment shimmering. And all our eyes are listening. And you and I can listen into all that happens now. Is the time for magic. Now is the time for listening. And all our heartbeats quickening for anything you can think, anything that you believe in. Now is the moment shimmering. And all our eyes are listening. And you and I can listen into all that happens now.
Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, guys.
That was awesome. Thank you so much. This has been Inspiring Revolutions presented by the ASCAP Foundation. And we are so happy that Bandits on the Run joined us for this. And they're doing good. Thank you, guys. That was
Thank you.
You're honored.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.